And welcome back to So You Want to Be a Millionaire. I am your co-host, Sharla Brown, joined with your co-host and co-founder of 100 Most Powerful Women, the beautiful, talented, and amazing Jacquie Somerville, where today we're going to talk about how to crush your fears to make millions. How are you today, Jacquie?
Hey, Sharla, I'm great. Great to be with everybody. Good subject as always.
Yes, absolutely, because we find that fears are often what is getting in the way of women to realize their best lives, to realize their biggest dreams, and of course, to realize that big money. So those are the things that we're going to talk about today. So Jacquie, what comes up for you when you hear the word fear?
Oh, the first thing I think about is regret. It's like I was saying earlier on today in another session we had, is that I just, my biggest fear is getting to the end of my days with regret. And ironically enough, it is fear that stops us from doing the things we want to do that causes the regret in the first place, right? And so for me, when I think about fear and why it is so necessary to be able to figure out how to do things in the face of it, and we'll get into why it's important to not run away from it, but to do things in the face of it, not pretend it's not there, but do it anyway, and all of that. The reason why I think it's so important to just forge ahead is because I, for one, never want to get to the end of my days going, wish I could have, wish I did, wish I should have, wish I whatever. That makes me shudder in the middle of the night. I never want to do that. And it is fear that stops us from doing what we want to do always, which is why this is such an important subject. So that's the first thing that comes up for me. If you want to live a life without regrets and get to the end of your days knowing that you did it all, you went all out, you tried everything you were put on this earth to try, you became what you were supposed to be, you made all the money your heart desired, you did what you wanted to do, you spread the words you wanted to spread in this world. And in order to do that, you have to find a way to acknowledge the fear, stare it in the face, and walk right into it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely, Jacquie. So important. And, fear has played a big role in my life for sure. And you don't realize how much fear controls what you do, what you don't do. It has so much power over us. And lots of times we don't realize it as we're going through life. And I remember having the biggest aha moment sitting in a waiting room for an appointment that I had. And I looked up and there's this poem on the wall, which is, of course, the famous Marianne Williamson poem that talks about, our deepest fear is not that we are power or inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And I had the biggest epiphany, reading that, and it just sent chills all through my body, is that was my biggest fear. It wasn't the fact that I was scared of failure or not doing something. It was the fact that I was most scared of my success, that I was scared of my abilities in this world. And everything changed for me that day, because I remember going home, I remember looking at myself in the mirror and saying, I'm not scared anymore. That I wasn't going to be scared anymore. Because what I know for sure is that everything that you want is on the other side of fear. And that can be, we think of the things that we worry about or that we fear that might happen to us, but lots of times it's the fear of what we're capable of, the success that's waiting for us, that really keeps us small. And realizing that when we give it that power and that potential in the universe, that's when we experience the most extraordinary life. And that truly sums it up for me for fear. And so much so that I created an event called Fearless Women's Summits. And that realizing that, everything that women were scared of or things that they've endured in their life, and by living fearlessly and choosing to live it fearlessly to create the life of their dreams, how much power that is, what it's done for their lives, because we all have a different fearless story, and how powerful that can be when we decide to say, I'm not scared anymore. And despite anything that's ever happened in my life, things that have kept me small or made me fearful, that when I decided to say, I'm not scared of this anymore. When you take it on, when you look it in the face, just like you said, that is where our greatest lives begin, and how powerful that can be.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought up that amazing writing by Marianne Williamson from A Return to Love. Because I had the same sort of reaction when I first read that. Just chills. I thought, oh my gosh, it's talking to me. That's exactly what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of being successful. And Stephen Pressfield, who's one of my favorite writers, in his amazing book called The War of Art, he calls success the mother lode of all fears. He said, yes, we fear all these other things, failure, rejection, blah, 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 blah. But he said the mother lode of all fears is the fear of success. And the thing is that we are afraid that success is going to change our lives dramatically, and that we might just have to live up to that person that we kind of think and deep down we know we are. It's scary to think we're going to have to live up to that. We're going to have to, blossom into our full potential. That's scary to us. That's maybe going to require some work. It's maybe going to require that we alienate some people in our lives. Things are going to happen, and we are very scared of success. And as Marianne Williamson went on to say in that poem, is that we hide our light so that we don't kind of make others feel bad. Whereas in actual fact, when we shine our light, we give others permission to do the same. And it's interesting how we sort of we let fear, we feel small so that we don't make others feel bad. But in actual fact, we need to be big and bold and bright, because that has the opposite effect on other people. It's so very interesting. But yeah, just talking about how to turn and look at fear instead of running away from it, because as many of you have probably heard the saying, what we resist persists, right? What we run away from chases us. And also what we focus on expands. So when we're sort of going, I don't want to see the fear. I don't want to see the fear. I don't want to, what is all we can think about? It's like when we go, I got to go on a diet. I got to eat less. I got to eat less. All we can think about is food, right? It's the same sort of thing. It's like, oh, I'm trying not to look at that. I'm trying not to look at that. And when you do that, that's all you can see. And it's the exact same thing with all of our fears. So the way that I teach it is you've got to acknowledge it. Say, you know what? I'm damn terrified of this. I really am. Let me be open and honest with myself about it. And let me cut myself some slack about this. I'm not going to run away from it. I'm not going to pretend it's not there. I'm not going to wish that it was gone. I'm going to acknowledge its existence and its presence, be real with myself and say, yeah, you know what? This feels damn terrifying. I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to run away from it. So I'm going to acknowledge it, because the moment we acknowledge things, they start to sort of dissipate, right? We acknowledge them. We give them the space that they want. They want to be noticed. It's like the ego. Notice me, notice me, notice me, right? They want to be noticed. The minute you notice them, they're like, thank you for noticing me. Now I'm going to step back and not be such a pain in your ass anymore. And so that's what happens with our fears. It's like, hold on, I see you. I see you. Don't worry. We got this. We're gonna work together on this. We're gonna walk in the face of this. It's okay. Oh, it's amazing when you do that. How you're no longer in resistance, and when you're not resistant, it won't persist.
Yes, absolutely. And I loved what you said about in that poem in terms of, you playing small in the world doesn't serve others. And that when you let your light shine, you give others permission to do the same, because we get fearful that if we do that, we're going to lose others in our life. That people aren't going to accept us, stepping into our greatness and shining our light. Who does she think she is? Really putting weight on the thoughts and opinions of others. When in all actuality, when you step into that, you do inspire others to do the same. If others are jealous of you or not liking what you do, well, that's none of your business. People are going to come and go out of our lives, and those that love you are always going to be there. They're going to be there as you step into your greatness, as you shine your light, and really to watch the impact of that. I've really experienced that myself in terms of, who I was, where I came from, and really going through that. Who do I think I am to think I could do something like this? But when you overcome that fear and you step into it and you embrace it, the easier it gets, the more comfortable it gets. but also the impact that it can make. Because how many people who have emailed me that you don't even realize are watching that says, you've inspired me to be able to start my own business. Or I knew that if you could do it, I could do it too. And that's really what that poem is saying, is that when we step into our light, when we step into our greatness, when we overcome our fears to become all that we were created to be, that we inspire others to do the same, that it really does make this world a better place. And that anybody who wasn't meant to be there anyway are going to fall to the wayside. And you'll start attracting other people that will just support you and encourage you and love you even more to become more of who you are. And that's what's the most beautiful, beautiful part. The other thing I want to mention about fear is that for me, it's my biggest driver to success. I love fear. And to me, I channel it in terms of what scares me is the path of what might be possible. And so if I look at something and I say, that scares the crap out of me, I wonder if I could do it, and that's what I've always leaned into, because that's what I have really found has brought out the greatest parts of me. When it was stepping away from, helping rich people get even richer, when I had, my event management company, worked with a lot of famous people, all that kind of stuff, I knew I could do that. I was very confident I could, do that and be behind the scenes. But, with creating my own events, I was putting women on a stage that weren't famous and well-known, knowing that they could overcome their fears to step into their light and shine. And also then for me to step to the forefront and put myself out there. That was, what brought me out of my own comfort zone. But that's what I've realized, is that all the great things happen outside of our comfort zone. That when we embrace those fears and use them as energy, as excitement, as fuel, you look for more things that scare you. You look for more things that bring out your greatness, because that's what fear can do, is it can really bring out the greatest parts of you that you didn't even know exist.
Yes, Sharla, that's such a great way to look at it, isn't it? It really is. And I love how you brought up the opinion of others. It's a great fear that I feel so many people have, is they fear what others are going to think and say if they step out. Are people going to think I'm just egotistical because I'm now making videos and creating a business or getting on the stage or writing books or whatever? And so they crush their own desires because of what others might think. And it's so interesting to know that most people aren't thinking about us anyway. They're so busy thinking about their own darn lives. We always think, oh, everybody's noticing what I'm doing and busy, yapping about it. No, they're not. They got their own crap that they're dealing with. And that's the first thing. And the other one is, what somebody's opinion of you is none of your business, right? And that's just something to always remember. So the opinion of others' fear is one to really just get rid of right now. If you get to the end of your days realizing you didn't do what you wanted to do just because you were scared of what other stupid people thought of you, oh, good Lord, that's a good enough reason to never think about that one ever again. The other thing about fear is, remember about the law of attraction, right? We are always attracting, regardless of whether it's good or bad. The law itself could care less. The law exists like gravity. So if we are in a state of fear, we are attracting more to be afraid of. If we're in a state of abundance, of joy, we're attracting more of that. So whatever we're vibing at is what we're attracting. And my story is a case in point. When the beautiful man was charged with all these things, when he had the accident and then the murder charges, everything, my fear around money was so intense. Because it had always been, I'd always feared, oh, what if I lose my money? Or what if I can never make it back? Or what if this? Or what if that? Right? This had always been a sort of a playing. So what happened? Well, the universe said, oh, you're afraid of losing your money? Try this on for size, darling. And that's what happens when we're afraid of stuff, right? We attract it to us. So we've got to stop living in a place of fear and opening up to the fact that this is a benevolent, kind universe that is working in our favor at all times. So what have we got to fear? And when we stop fearing, and when we just open up to it and just say, I see you, I get you, I'm not running away from you, all is good in spite of you, all is well. we then no longer living in that vibration of fear. We've made it dissipate. So that's the best reason I can think of to give up on fear is, what are you attracting to yourself when you're in a state of fear and you're running away from it and you're making it bigger and bigger and bigger? You're attracting more crap to run away from and to be scared of. So that's an incentive right there to always remember the law of attraction is at work, regardless of whether you think it is or not. It's always at work. So what are you attracting right now? Fear or love, lack or wealth, health or disease, right? All of these things we have control over.
Yeah, absolutely, Jackie, for sure. And I like what you said that about in terms of, what other people think of you is none of your business. And that's the thing, is we put so much weight on others' opinions, as opposed to, they're not walking in your shoes every day. They're not living your life. You've got this one precious life to live. How do you want to live it? And it makes me think of the other thing that, controls a lot of our life, fear's best friend, worry. And so, they always say, over 90% of what you worry about never, ever happens. And so why do we spend so much energy and time in fear and in worry, as opposed to embracing, what the universe has in store, really stepping into it and really being able to ask for what we want, let go of those fears, step confidently in the direction of our dreams, knowing that the other side of fear is faith. And the thing is that what I know for sure is that in faith, fear, doubt, and worry don't exist. Yeah. They're just not there. There's only love and joy and abundance. What would you rather have? We have that choice every single day. But the sad part is most people who are walking on this earth are choosing the fear, the doubt, and the worry, because faith is something that we can't see necessarily. It's always what isn't always common sense. And we're always trying to make sense. We're always trying to see what we can see with our eyes and figure out how it's going to happen for us, as opposed to the faith side of things, what you can't see. It's the miracles that happen in our life. It's the divine guidance. And it's, watching things unfold miraculously to have the life of our dreams. And so I always say, we have two ways to live our life, is, to live in faith or to live in fear. And we make that choice every day. In fact, every moment of every day. And the more that we can choose faith, we can choose love, we can choose abundance, we can choose joy, we can create that dream life that we want to have.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does. It all goes back to our favorite subject, doesn't it, of faith? It really does, because we cannot be operating in faith and in fear and worry at the same time. They're just the opposites. It's not possible. And it just reminds me of that beautiful quote from A Course in Miracles that we've spoken about before, which is, if you know who walks beside you at all times on this path that you have chosen, you would never experience fear and doubt again. And that's why faith is so important, because when we're walking in faith, we feel so loved and so supported, and we're in the state of, I have nothing to fear. And therefore, we never experience fear and doubt again, because we've just made a decision to move into faith, even though it's not so tangible and visible and so on. And that's why it's so hard for people. So people are always sort of fighting matter with matter instead of going spiritual in order to, A, deal with their fears and their concerns, and B, manifest what they desire in this life. Right? It's the answer is always spiritual. As we say to everybody, oh, you want more money? Get spiritual. You want to fall in love? Get spiritual. It's not about desperately seeking and working your ass off and running around like a chicken with your head chopped off trying to find the answers. Get spiritual, because you got to drop the fear and worry before you open up to any divine downloads. And when we talk about making millions of dollars, we talk about doing that effortlessly and in flow. And the way that you do that is you stop thinking about struggle. You stop thinking it's going to be super hard work, and you move into faith. And when you realize that all is well and that this power walks beside you at all times on this path that you have chosen, then you start feeling supported and cool. When you're feeling calm and at peace, boom, down comes the multi-million-dollar idea. Boom, down comes the perfect marketing blurb. boom, down comes the perfect offer to make to your clients. It's really incredible. It's when we're in that state, as Florence Scovel Shinn says in Game of Life, everything we want comes over a calm sea, right? If we're choppy and in fear, we can't hear the downloads. The inspiration never hits us. The intuition cannot reach us. And as we said earlier, prayer is us talking to the divine, and intuition is the divine talking to us. We can't hear that when we're in fear and worry. And so it is tied directly to your millions, because your millions will not come to you if you're in fear and worry, because quite simply, those ideas that are going to make you millions can't reach you. And you're too scared to act on them, even if they did. So this is why getting this thing of fear down pat is so important. Looking it in the eye, saying, I see you, I acknowledge you. Yeah, we're scared, but we're going to do this anyway. And I'm no longer going to resist. I'm no longer going to be afraid of you. I'm going to walk forward towards you. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Embrace it. Embrace it. Because the thing is that you give it its story. Like all of a sudden you realize that, the monsters are under the bed are kitty cats and bunny rabbits. Lots of times it's the story that we've played around in our head and turned it into this monster. But really, when you faced it and embraced it, you're like, that was the best thing that's ever happened to me. And so, it's all a matter of perspective as to how we see these things that we fear. And we've watched so many of our clients that have stepped into it and embraced it, even in massive amounts of debt, talking about money. We've seen so many women who have ran, you stop answering the call, all that kind of stuff. You don't sleep at night. It affects your health and well-being, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then realizing when they faced it full on, that it was not the scenario that they thought it was. Exactly that it was so much better. It was so much easier when they just embraced it and faced it head on. And so that's the thing, is really looking at what our fears are, what we've turned them into be, and that it's not even true, that we really look at them with, loving eyes and perspective as to what this is doing in your life, because I truly believe that all those things are helping you get to your greatness, that when you do embrace them and accept them full on and handle those, that they're all bringing you to what God has in store for you and all that kind of stuff. I always say, these things don't fall into place because life is sunshine and roses. We want these things in our life and we start asking for them. And then all of a sudden God starts moving the mountains and we get scared and fearful because we're like, hey, I was standing on that, like, hey, all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, this is gone. And it's like, yeah, but you asked for a massively successful business. I've had to get you fired from your shitty job to do that. And then, like, oh my gosh, that was my bread and butter. Oh, no, honey. Your bread and butter and the mansion and the house you want in the Caribbean and all the people you want to help and all that kind of stuff. That's what we're working on now, because that's what you truly want. So we've had to get rid of this out of your way. But we get fearful and scared that when the good stuff starts happening, we want to crawl under the bed. We want to go back. We want the comfort, even though we weren't happy in the comfort, and it wasn't what we wanted, we want to head back there. Those are the moments when we want to throw in the towel and when we want to give up and all that kind of stuff. And to me, that's when the good stuff really is happening, for sure. So what we could do is talk about some of those biggest fears that we find women have around money, and maybe do some, myth busters around it. So one of the biggest fears I find that women have is that they got to work hard for it. So, and that's a fear that, in terms of having a successful business, that's going to cost them their family, that's going to cost them their health or well-being, all those kind of things. So what's your take on that, Jacquie, when it comes to fear around if they, pursue these things, that it's going to be hard?
Well, I just believe that whatever we believe will be our truth. So if that is what you believe, that is going to be the case. It goes back to the law of attraction, right? What do we expect? And when we're expecting things to be easy, when we expect the divine to help us, when we cast the burdens and all of this, that's what happens. But instead, what do? We expect it to be hard. We expect things to be difficult. We expect things to not go our way. We expect the struggle. And that's what we get. It's like what I said, the law of attraction is at work whether you want it to be or not. So what are you attracting through your belief, through the story that you have around something? And if it is as simple as just changing the story and no longer believing that, why don't we do it? But it is so ingrained in us, isn't it? And I also feel that the ego gets such a big boost out of feeling that, oh, but that was so hard. I see so many of these men who've created successful businesses. A big part of their persona is telling you how hard they work to do it. That's their ego. Their ego is like, look at me. Oh my gosh, this was the huge, this was the biggest struggle of my life and it's worth it. And you've got to hustle and you've got to grind. You've got to almost kill yourself. That's because their ego is getting a giant boost from that. God love them. I mean, they can have it. They can do that. That's their thing. It's their shtick. But it's their shtick. It's just a shtick. Don't make it your shtick. You get to decide what your shtick is. My shtick is that this is going to be freaking easy and that I'm a multimillionaire worthy of it, and it's just going to get easier and easier and easier. What's your shtick?
We'll let the men keep the shticks.
Yeah, they can have that shtick. We'll choose our own.
Too funny. Another one of the big fears that we find that women have is losing money and not having enough money. So there's always not enough, and that even if there's tons of money there, this fear around it not being there for some way, shape, or form. And I know you have some good stories around that, Jacquie, for sure.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. Because here's the big news. Whether you have $0 or $10 million in the bank, it doesn't matter if you are stuck in a state of not enoughness. And trust me, I've had millions of dollars in the bank and felt like it wasn't enough. And when you do that, it finds a way to leave you. It does. This whole not enoughness is such a big scourge in our society. I do believe that this whole problem with not feeling like we're enough or not feeling like we're worthy causes things like drug addictions and alcohol addictions and all sorts of bad things for us because we just don't feel like we're enough. And when you look at people who are famous and very successful, and what do? They jeopardize everything with drug addictions and so on. It's because they just don't feel like they're enough no matter how much they have. So this whole thing of I am enough now, all is well, I have enough no matter what my bank account says, I'm a worthy individual. You got to get that right when you have zero or minus a negative net worth. Because I'm telling you, if you don't get it right then, it's not going to be enough when you have millions. And you're going to be stuck in a state of not enoughness no matter what. So that not enoughness is a ridiculous thing that must be nipped in the bud. And I know Marissa Peers does such a great job of teaching this, but her simple, the whole business is around the premise of I am enough. And just that statement is extraordinarily helpful. So for those of you who are stuck in not enoughness, stuck in fear and worry, oh my gosh, I'll finally be happy when I have this amount, or I'll be finally relieved when there's this sort of buffer in the bank or whatever, go and put I am enough, I have enough, all is well, all over your house, everywhere. Go over the bathroom mirror, in the car, because you will start to believe it if you see it and read it often enough and repeat it often enough. You are enough right now, no matter how much you have or don't have. When you get that right, you will be able to have more, and you'll not lose it when you get it.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I know there's lots of fears that we work with women around money, the clients that we coach and stuff like that. But another one that I find that women really struggle with is the fear in investing in themselves, investing in their dreams, investing in their business to create what they want to create. It's such a big one for women that, they can't justify for some reason in terms of putting the money into themselves. We've said that a number of times, and I know you have a big story, really great story about that, Jacquie, in terms of, if you were to bet on anyone, you were going to bet on you. So I'll let you share that a little bit in terms of, when you had tons of money, other people's opinions as to what you should be spending and investing that on and what you chose to do.
I know. It still makes me absolutely crazy. I had this conversation just with my boyfriend the other day because he said something about investing or, being cautious with money or whatever. And I had such a reaction because I said, if I have another man trying to tell me what to do with my money or where to invest it, I'm going to throttle the life out of them. No one gets to tell me what I do with my money. Nobody. Because if I can't believe and trust myself, who the hell can I trust and believe in? And who else is going to trust and believe in me if I don't trust and believe in myself? So when everybody said, oh, be cautious, take the money, invest it very wisely, very carefully. And I said, no, I'm actually going to risk it all to be in business for myself and to have my own gig going, because that's going to serve me for the rest of my life and give me fulfillment. Everyone's like, no, but Jacquie, just invest it here. Just invest it here. Oh, you mean I must invest in other people's dreams and not my own? Just because you people don't believe in me doesn't mean I don't believe in me. So you go off and you invest in your stock market and you do your thing. I'm putting it all in my business. I'm risking it all for my dream every last time. And I sold everything I had to go on the road with you and to create my own show and to live my friggin' dream. Because why else am I here on this earth? Am I here to just squirrel money away and to make other people rich? Or am I here to live my dreams? And so I am proud of myself for this, because it is difficult to fly in the face of such deeply rooted convention, right? Always have a plan B, always have something to fall back on. This is what we're taught. I know that I was, and I think most of us are taught that. Well, to hell with plan Bs. I don't believe in them. I don't believe in having something to fall back on, because if you do, guess what's going to become your path? Friggin' plan B. The fall back on is going to become your truth. Right? Because that's what you're believing for. If you have it, you obviously believe you're not going to be making plan A. You got to be 100% absolutely committed. I was prepared to die for plan A. And physically, probably yes too, but definitely financially. I was prepared to go to the wire for plan A and not have a backstop. Well, then guess what? When you do hit rock bottom, you figure it out, because you got nowhere to go but up. So I'm a big believer in plan A all the way, Sharla, all the way. And invest in your friggin' self and stop listening to what other people have to say. Because if you've got a business idea, you'll never convince others to trust you and believe in your business if you don't believe in it yourself. I mean, that's like rule number one to me.
Yes, 100%. And what happens when you do that, especially when you're telling others, because I'm always a big proponent that you really need to protect your big goals and dreams and be cautious as to who you share those with, because other people's fears kick in. So all the reasons why it wouldn't work, and all the reasons why you shouldn't do it, and why you should stick in doing this or whatever the case might be, is that most humans are driven by fear. And so if they're not figuring out their own, they're happy to help you figure out some for your own life. And so we're big proponents in terms of being really cautious as to who you share those big goals and dreams with. And that's why we created 100 Most Powerful Women, is that we know women have hearts and big goals and dreams. They want to make income. They want to make the impact. They want to live extraordinary lives. And that they're able to do that, and that you're not crazy. And that, yes, fear does come into play sometimes, but how we can utilize that to be able to propel ourselves, to become the greatest version of ourselves, to be able to realize our greatness on this earth and in this life, and that's what we love doing with the women that we work with, for sure. But anything else, Jacquie, that you wanted to add today regarding fear?
Well, I just want to, just as a little caveat to what I just said, I live my life by this rule: be responsible, but not sensible. Be responsible, but not sensible. So no one's saying, stop, don't pay the rent, and don't feed your kids or whatever, right? Be responsible, but don't be sensible. No sensible person ever did anything great or saved the world. So throw sensibility out the window. But for goodness sake, you got to be a responsible human being. You got to pay the rent. You got to, feed your kids and take care of them and all of that. So, but that's a given. But outside of that, go all in, boots and all, for plan A all the way. And so, yeah, I think the important thing is to make a decision. What do you want to do? Where do you want to live? On the state of, in the place of fear, or in the place of living all out and getting to the end of your days with no regrets? To me, it's a no-brainer.
Yep, absolutely. You know, a good friend of mine used to always say, you know, do what you love. Life goes by in the blink of an eye. And that's the thing, is that it's every day matters. Every day counts. And so what kind of life do you want to experience today? Because you can have any life that you want. It's making the decision to say, I'm not scared anymore, knowing that everything you want is on the other side of fear. And so we invite you that if you want to explore what is on the other side of fear for you, you know, we invite you to learn more about 100 Most Powerful Women. It's an application process. Jacquie and I work with 100 ladies to be able to look like a million, feel like a million, impact millions, and of course, make millions of dollars doing what you love, because we know that every woman is capable of achieving that, for realizing that for her life. And so I'll put the link in the comments below where you can apply, so that you can say, hey, you know what? I'm not scared anymore. I'm going to at least take the first right step. I'm going to trust in faith and divine and not be scared anymore, and just see what's there. It'll be amazing as to the more you step into your fears, how much they diminish, or that you use them to even propel you even further. It's powerful stuff for sure.
Yes, it is.
Yes. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today, learning a little bit about our perspective regarding fears. And of course, we invite you to apply to join us with 100 Most Powerful Women. Be sure to watch us next week with another episode of So You Want to Be a Millionaire. Bye, everyone.
Bye.